Hi class and welcome to our first discussion. So our lesson for today is about organization and communication. So this unit deals on the various definitions of the main terms of this course, which are, of course, organization and communication and human communication. This modular unit will provide us explanation on the common themes tend to emerge in analyzing the definitions. For the word organization, its structure, its goal, and the people within the organization. Also, this unit includes the types of organization and basic models of communication in the organization. We have here your pretest, but you will no longer be answering it, as this pretest is intended for those who will choose the self-learning module. But if you want to answer them, that will be fine. Next is we have the learning objectives. So these are the things that you're expected to acquire or to possess once we're done discussing this chapter. First one is for you to understand the various definitions of organization and communication. And second one is for you to identify the different types of organizations and their characteristics. And lastly, you'll be equipped with the knowledge so that you can explain the basic definition of model of communication and how it applies to the organizational context. Now, the first term that we will be defining here is the word organization. So it says that it's a common principle in studying that before you start to explore into the complexities and details of one subject matter, it is very important to understand first the basic of what you are going to study. Like in this case, that is the reason why we need to define the word organization and communication first. Now, a lot of experts in various fields have already defined this term. So instead of conceptualizing another definition for organization, let us look in several definitions from common dictionary, definitions to textbooks, in other fields of disciplines such as we have psychology, we have economics, business, and specifically in the field of organizational communication. In Merriam-Webster, we have we also have the definition of organization, and it says that it is the act or process of organizing or being organized, and the condition of being organized. On the other hand, Business Dictionary Online defined an organization as a social unit of people that is constructed to meet a need or to pursue a collective goal. Meaning to say that in Business Dictionary, organization meaning to say that it's a group of people wherein they are intended to achieve a common goal, and of course that is a business goal that of course set by probably the manager or the managers or the top management for that particular business. And while in the field of economics, Gibson and Roberts 2012 stated in their book that, let me read, organization involves the use of economic logic and methods to understand the existence, nature, design, and performance of human resources and other with purpose, especially managed ones. So in Business Dictionary, we are mainly talking about a group of people trying to achieve a business goal, whereas in the field of economics, we're talking about organization as something that involves economic logic and its own methods. Okay, and that is, of course, for us to be able to understand the existence of nature, design, performance of human resources, okay, and its other purpose. Meanwhile, in the field of organizational behavior, Litter defined organization as a social unit within which people have achieved somewhat stable relations among themselves in order to facilitate obtaining a set of objectives or goals. So, in Business Dictionary, we're talking about the organization achieving a business goal. Probably that would be some profit or sales. And then in the field of economics, they are trying to apply on the logic in economics. Whereas here in organizational behavior, we are already talking about a social unit as or a social unit within which people have achieved their relationship, okay, and they are trying to facilitate or trying to also set some goals within that social group. So kung kanina, business, sales, and economics, of course, that could probably have something to do about taxation, on how people can meet the demand of the people while increasing or there is a decrease in supply. Okay, so may mga organization na nag-work doon. And when it comes to organizational behavior, we are mainly talking about organization as a social unit. Pag sinabi kasi natin social, we mainly talk about interaction, we mainly talk about communication, and how these social people work together so that they can also achieve their common goal. Now, while in the field of organizational communication, which is the focus of this course module, Krebs 1986 defined organization as social collective in which people develop ritualized patterns of interaction in an attempt to coordinate their activities and efforts in the ongoing accomplishment of personal and group goals. So that is organizational communication here. So it talked about social, so meaning to say there are people just like in the organizational behavior definition of organizational communication. Dito meron din tayong mga social people who are working together, but it was added that they are working together in a parang predicted way, because it says here that there are patterns that these people are following so that they can achieve their personal and also group goals. So I think that is something that was added into the definition of organizational communication, no? Kanina, it's mainly on achieving the goal or goals of the organization, whereas dito sa organizational communication, you have your personal goal and also you have that organizational goal that you are trying to obtain, that you are trying to achieve. Alright, in addition, there are also other scholars in communication or organizational communication, and they have defined organization as an organized collection of individuals working interdependently. Okay, so meaning to say there are people, individuals, but despite them being individual, they interdependently working with one another, meaning to say they are interacting, they're working with and through others within a relatively structured, organized, open system to achieve common goal. Meaning to say they do not just work together, but they still follow an open system wherein there is a structure, there is an organization that they need to follow so that they can achieve that common goal that they have set. Now, after reading the various definitions given above, you may be thinking which of these definitions is best to describe an organization you have in mind. Now, whether these various definitions represent a field of discipline, all of them have in common. So, if you will notice with the different definitions of organizations, whether it came from the business dictionary or in the field of organizational communication, there are three common components. And that is one is, of course, the people within the organization, goals or objectives, and structure. First component of organization definition is people. When we talk about organization, whether an academic organization in school or a business or corporate organization, we know the fact that organization has its members as well as leaders, managers who run the organization. So basically, meaning to say that an organization is not an organization if there are no people within that group, because it is the people that will run the organization. So that is how important the people dun sa isang grupo, dun sa isang samahan. Kasi sabi nga kanina with the definition of organization by Merriam-Webster, the act or process of organizing or being organized. If you have nothing to organize, then the existence of organization will be none. Of course, the first thing that you need to organize are the people before you can set a goal. Because without people, no one will work in achieving the goal. Okay? So I hope that is clear. So according to Liza Grease in 2007, people is an essential component of organization, for they are the ones that provide leadership, stewardship, and fellowship in every organization, as well as formulate strategies to help organization achieve their objectives. So that what I was saying a while ago. An organization, by its most basic definition, is an assembly of people working with, or which means of using individual strengths within a group to achieve more than can be accomplished by the aggregate efforts of group members working individually. So there are four factors related to people in an organization. So ito daw yung mga nakaka-apekto sa tao sa isang organization. So one, it says here, interdependency. So it is defined as mutual dependence or depending on one another. Ibig sabihin, in an organization daw, people tend to be dependent with one another. Say for example, merong problema yung coworker mo. So in an organization setup, there are factors in which naapektuhan ng isang tao. Halimbawa, kung meron siyang problema. But since we've mentioned that people in an organization are interdependent to one another, pag may problema yung isa, tutulungan niya yung isa. Kasi nga, parang they try to seek help to one another. That's why it's called interdependency. Second one, interaction. It is defined in Merriam-Webster dictionary as mutual or reciprocal action or influence, meaning to say, one affects the other. Parang nare-reciprocate yung every action mo in an organization. And other people can also be affected with certain actions that you're doing within your organization. Say, for example, nawalambad ka ng pera sa organization niyo. So, you're not the only person who will be affected to that thing that you have incurred dun sa organization mo. But instead, lahat ng tao within the organization will be affected. Kasi nga, your actions will be reciprocated, and also other people will be affected if you do something within your organization. So that is interaction. Also, in addition to that, it says people within the organization are constantly in state of interaction, and part of the organizations are the outcome of people's interaction with each other. So, say you are not communicating well with your coworkers, then it will be a challenge for you in achieving your goal kasi you do not communicate. Halimbawa, pagdating sa production, in a, say, movie production, okay? You're not coordinating all the things that, needs to be coordinated. You're not telling your producer or your director that this has to be done. So, nangyayari na lang pagdating ng shooting, yung mga bagay na nawawala, there are things that the director is looking, pero since it was not communicated to him or her, then magugulo na yung shooting, no? So, kailangan, there has to be an interaction within people in an organization for it to be successful or for it to achieve its goals. Next is we have control. Control is another term associated with the people in an organization. Control process help circumscribe idiosyncratic behaviors and keep them conformant with the rational plan of the organization. That's why you have your managers, that is why you have your supervisors, because these are the people who will control the workplace or the who will control the organization. So these are the people responsible in making sure that everything is smooth within the organization. So kasama dyan yung HR, Kasi, of course, the top executives, so they're the ones actually controlling, no, especially in the Philippine setup. So yung mga nasa top management, yung mga people, making control sa isang organization to help the organization, of course, achieve its goal. If they find this thing better for the organization, so they will try to implement it in their organization or in their company so that, alam mo yun, makuha nila kung ano yung gusto nila. Next is leadership. Leadership is a significant factor for making an organization successful. It centers on the process of influencing or persuading as well as motivating people or members of organizations to perform assigned tasks willingly, efficiently, and competently. So pretty much, you already know what leadership is, no? Kasi sinabi natin leadership, maraming definition yan. But basically, as for me, when we say that leadership, it's setting the standards, no? And who will be that person to set the standard? Of course, it's you, so that other people will follow you. Nakikita ng mga tao within your organization that you're doing these best practices, then most likely these people will follow you. Kasi they can see that what you're doing is working for the organization, thus making them realize or may inspire sila to also follow what you are doing. So that is leadership. And leadership isn't just, you at the top or sa unahan. It's, to be a leader is also something na you have that ability to push other people when they need help or be with those people. Parang hindi ka lang yung laging nasa una, laging nasa unahan, laging nasa taas. Okay? That is not leadership. Leadership is being flexible to whatever na malalagay ka. And of course, leader is someone who's successful in leading an organization or a group. Kasi if you aren't successful, then you cannot be considered as a leader. Kasi wala kang nagawa in your organization. Now, second component of organization definition and common goal is common goals or objectives. So I've mentioned it already many times that the reason why there is an organization because those people have something to achieve. Okay, they have these common goals that they would like to obtain. Okay, and it says organizational goals or objectives serve as a map for the members or employees in an organization. Okay, these are like guidelines that will help you achieve what you want to achieve because these are your goals. Okay, say yung goal ng klase na to. So what is the goal of this class? Do you know? Okay, basically the goal of this class is for all of you to learn, for all of you to move, okay, to the next semester pag napasa nyo itong subject na to. So, what we have in this class right now is an organization. And its common goal is for all of you, especially me, for all of you to pass. So, yun yung pinaka-goal natin sa klase na to. Okay? And of course, we can also add isa sa mga common goal natin is to survive this online class. Kasi this is something new for us. Okay? And we are the members of this organization. I am your leader and we will work together so that we can survive this semester. Now, if ever man that we would still have an online class next semester, mas kaya na nating tapusin, mas kaya na nating i-survive kasi we've already experienced it. Okay. Now, according to Nikki and Williams, 2017, there are 3 types of organizational goals. The strategic, tactical, and operational goals. So strategic goals are set by and for top management and focus on objectives for the organization as a whole. So strategic goals, these are the goals coming from the top management. Say, sa Tarlac State University, no, it's an organization. So when we say strategic goal, the implementation of rules will be coming from the top officials, the board of regents, okay, from Dr. Malyari. Next is tactic goals. Set by and for middle managers and focus on the actions needed to achieve strategic goals. So, based natin ulit siya sa university natin, no? It says here that tactical goals are set by and for middle managers. So, pwede natin sabihin ng mga dean, no? Kasi this is what they are seeing from their own college. So, probably dahil ito yung nakikita nilang effective, so sa kanila manggagaling ngayon yung goals para na i-achieve naman ng buong university. So, that is an example. The next is operational set. So, it is set by and for first-line managers and are concerned with short-term matters associated with realizing tactical goals. So, ito, pag sinabi natin operational set, you are focused with the short-term matters, no, that concerns your organization. Halimbawa, sa isang factory. So, we need to produce these items as quick as possible. So, what are you gonna do? Okay, what are your strategies? What will be the goal for that day? Okay, so maybe we can say that the goal for that day is to ask other people to work double time. Okay, or ang goal natin ngayong araw na to is madoble natin yung manpower so that we can achieve yung mga additional orders na kailangan nila from us. So those are the three types of organizational goals. Again, we have strategic, tactical, and operational sets. Next is we have the 5 distinct goals of an organization. So first one is we have output goals. Output goals are organizational goals that are reflected immediately or in the future in some product, service, skill, or orientation which will affect the society. So, output. Like, again, we'll use Tarlac State University as an example. So, yung organization na TSU, ang pinaka-objective niyan is for it to produce quality graduates. At kapag nakapag-produce ng quality graduates, kayo, pag gumraduate kayo, you are considered to be the output of the university. Kasi kayo yung, kumbaga, pinaka-kinalabasan noong services na ino-offer ng university. So that is output. And another example would be, yun nga, basahin ko lang. So most organizations, whether education or business, profit or non-profit, they have output goals that will be given, released, or distributed back to the external environment. For example, furniture company, so yung ano yung output niya, yung mga upuan, yung mga mesa. So, yun. Next is adaptation goals. Adaptation goals pertains to the organization has in terms of adapting to external environment. So how will you cope up with these external factors in the external environment that is affecting your organization? So every organization exists in environments that change, and to become successful organization, one must know how to adjust and adapt to the external environment. So ano ba yung mga external environment or ng TSU? So probably ito yung layo ng estudyante sa university. So how will you solve that? So if you will notice, nagkaroon na tayo ng mga satellite campuses. Tama? And also there is this problem in the university na it is becoming overcrowded. Okay? Lalo na yung main campus. So what did the university done para ma-solve yung problem na yon? Adaptation. Kasi there is an increase in the number of students applying sa university. So what did Tarlac State University done to resolve that matter is first to come up with satellite campuses. So we already have TSU Capas to cater those students in Capas, and nagkaroon tayo ng San Isidro, and then we will be having another campus also in Concepcion to cater those students in Concepcion. So that's how Tarlac State University adapted to that change dun sa external environment niya. Kasi sa TSU, hindi naman niya makokontrol yung number of population eh. hindi naman niya kayang kontrolin yung number of children na pinapanganak that in the future mag-enroll sa university. So ngayon, paano siya mag-a-adapt sa change? So ganun yung ginawa niya. Next, management goals. Management goals deals on 3 types of decision making in an organization. So these are 1, who will manage or run an organization. So we are talking about the goals of management, no, of the team that will lead the organization. So who will run the organization? Who will be the managers? Who will be the supervisors? 2, how to handle conflict management. Say for example, there is a problem. Or again, ilagay natin siya sa situation ng Tarlac State University. There is a conflict between the job orders sa Tarlac State University at sa kanyang management. So how will the university solve that? Will there be a dialogue? Or palitan na lahat ng JO na yan, tanggalin nyo na lahat ng mga yan, nagre-reklamo. Pag nagreklamo, tanggalin ninyo. So how will the university resolve that? So conflict management. And output goal prioritization. What will be the priority of the university? Okay? Is that, kasi aside from producing graduates, the university also trying to produce mga studies or researches, mga theses. So, will that be producing those? Also for the sake of the students, also for the students to benefit, or it is providing state-of-the-art classroom para sa mga estudyante? Alin ba? Saan ba? Or is it hiring highly qualified educators for the students? Okay. What will the organization prioritize para ma-achieve yung goal niya and to produce that output? So that's under management goal. Next is motivation. Now the 4th that we have is motivational goals. So motivation goals are set out to ensure that all the employees are satisfied and remain loyal to the organization. Okay, there's wealth of research that has examined the importance of employee motivation on job satisfaction and worker productivity. So if you are the owner of the company, what are the things that you will consider so that you will make your employees happy? Will that be giving them more incentives? Will that be an increase in their salary? Will that be giving them health benefits, a medical card? So how will you motivate your employees? Except from you giving inspiring words or giving them extra recreational time, like giving them free yoga classes. So ano nga ba yung mga bagay that will motivate your employees? Because it's important that your employees are motivated when they are working. Okay? Kasi motivation means productivity. The more that you motivate your employees in their work, the more that they become more effective and efficient in their work. So that is one organizational goal, no, that we have to look into when we are in an organization. So how will you motivate your employees? Next is positional goals. So positional goals is described by Edward Gross and are positional goals, or these are goals that attempt to position an organization within the environment in comparison to other organizations with the same market. Say, wala namang kalaban ng Tarlac State University, no, dito sa region natin, because we believe that we are the best in the region. Maybe the example na pwede natin gamitin is real estate company. No, real estate company. So what will set you apart from other real estate company? How will you stand out with your competitors? How will you position yourself sa market na kung saan marami ang tulad nyo na nag-offer ng same service or same product? Okay? Before I work as a public relations specialist sa isang real estate company, that's why I can relate to it. So, meron kami mga different housing programs na kung saan in marketing, in promotion, in advertising, we are trying to come up with ideas na i-promote yung real estate company na yon, na ito yung kakaiba sa amin as compared to other real estate company or companies na nag-offer din ng same na mga bahay. So, are you the real estate company na for the mass or for the middle class, or are you a high-end real estate? So, doon sa middle class na real estate, nasan ka doon? Are you the real estate providing quality houses? Okay? Or meron ka mga different amenities unlike other real estate company? That's why kailangan piliin ng tao, and that is your position in the market na middle class pero kompleto ang amenities kahit hindi siya top real estate project. Okay, so how will you position that? Another example would be yung McDonald's and Jollibee. So they have their own kind of promotion para ma-set si Jollibee and McDonald's sa isa't isa, no, para ma-set apart sila. Na ngayon, if you'll try to think of the brand of the fast food chain, kahit pareho sila ng pagkain na ino-offer, there is a distinction pag sinabi mong Jollibee, pang bata. Because that's how they position themselves with their advertisements, no? Pag sinabi mo naman McDonald's, pwede pa rin naman siya pang bata. But, pag sinabi natin McDonald's, it can be for the barkada. Diba? So, parang ganoon mo siya nakikita, and that's how you position yourself if you are an organization. Now that is it for the 5 distinct goals of organization. Now let's move on to the organizational structures. Organizational structures is the third commonly seen in the various definitions of the word organization, and it has to do with structure. These are various conceptualizations and definition of structure. Okay. Now, when we say structure, it's something that we follow, no? And when we say structure, there is a system into it. So parang there is an organization din, no? Dito din papasok yung structure ninyo in your organizational chart. Okay, sino yung nasa top management, sino yung nasa operational management, sino yung nasa HR. So, yun yung pinaka-structure niya. So, dito naman, meron daw tayong 4 basic processes of organizational structure. So, first one is external environment. It pertains to anyone who has an impact on the organization itself, but exists outside the boundaries of the organization. So, an example would be customer, vendors, competitors, like in the field of education. So, you have Tarlac State University. So, who are your competitors in Tarlac City? You have PWU, you have SDI, you have ACLC or AMA. So, yun yung mga other or external environment that is also somehow affecting you as an organization. So, instead of the students enrolling in your university, kahit state U yan, or sabihin natin mga private, okay, para mas maganda yung example. So, kahit or minsan kasi may mga instances na mas pipilian ng isang estudyante na to enroll in this university instead in your school. So parang may mga, kahit hindi sila part ng organization mo, say STI and AMA, ikaw si AMA, STI is never a part and will never be a part of your organization, pero somehow it still affects you kasi nga they are your competitor. Next is input. Input is next major aspect of organization's environment. So inputs are those resources that an organization brings, okay, into the organization. Of course, mainly to achieve a goal. So there are 3 general categories of inputs. So one is physical materials. So ito yung mga, say, sa klase natin, sa physical class, no? Ito yung mga desk, whiteboard, markers, your chairs, your air conditioning units, your electric fans. So those are physical materials that you need, no, within your organization. Dun sa structure, kumbaga physical structure ng organization mo. And then we have people, of course. You bring in people, you bring in teachers, you are bringing in instructors, you are bringing in professors for you to produce quality graduates. So those people are the ones responsible in molding and giving knowledge, you know, dun sa mga estudyante ng isang school like PSU. And then we have information. The final type of input an organization needs is information. Information refers to any data that is necessary for an organization to process in an effort to create knowledge. So, literally, sa amin, we need to be informed, we need to be knowledgeable so that we can, you know, we have something to tell the students. So, pag we're not expert or hindi namin alam yung subject matter na tinuturo namin, then we will not be effective at producing an output for the organization. Information can also be mga health procedures, no, in the university so that we can maintain the good health of everybody. Or sabihin na natin na information in a sense na you are educating the students within the campus na huwag maingay kapag may nagkaklase. Okay, so those are simple information that will help yung organization kahit gaano siya kaliit, that will help in achieving their goal. So those are the three general categories of inputs. Again, physical materials, people, and of course, information. Next, in the four basic processes of organizational structure is what we call throughput. Throughput is ultimately what an organization does with inputs within the confines of the operational itself. So what are you going to do with these physical materials, with these people, with these information? How are you going to utilize these people, no? Again, for you to achieve your goal. Sa mga physical materials, anong gagawin mo sa chair? Okay? Upuan mo, susulatan mo, i-vandalize mo. Yung mga markers na nakawin mo, yung mga air conditioning units, anong gagawin mo? Sisirain mo. Okay. So what are you gonna do with these inputs? And kung ano man yung magiging plan mo or isa-set mo na goal in maintaining these inputs is magiging reflection din nung kalalabasan na output mo. And of course, I've been mentioning it, it's output. Output is the ultimate product of or service that an organization disseminates back to the external environment. So again, ulit-ulit, like what I've mentioned, this university, yung pinaka-output niya is yung quality graduates that it will produce in the future. And in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5, 6 years, 7 years from now, pag graduate ka, you're considered to be an output of the organization. Huwag naman sanang umabot ng 7 years. Now, next is, or to continue, we live in an organizational world for almost every object we see, owns or use, represents that outcome of organizational effort of one kind or another. The houses we live in, the offices and factory we work in, the classrooms we study in, the food we eat, the water we drink, even the air we breathe, while it's been heated or cooled, all of these are impossibles in the modern world, of course, without the products or services of human organizations. Malamig ang classroom natin, malamig yung mga kwarto nyo, yung mga bahay ninyo, nakakagamit ka ng laptop ngayon, ng mga mobile phones. That is because there is an organization that came up with those technologies, with those products. Kaya meron tayong ginagamit ngayon. Organizational type is quite important in determining the management style as well as defining organizational structure and goals. assuming you are an employee in a company or of your choice, but not working what type of organization it is. You might have expectation in your organization that is not really part of or pursued by your organization. Thus, knowing a type of organization you are into could help you also to achieve your objectives as member while you are part of the organization. So it's also important that you also try to determine what you want in life. Kasi you cannot be a member of an organization, you having a different site or having a different goal from your organization. Kaya sinabi kanina, sa definition ng organization, in organizational communication, kumbaga, you're not just trying to achieve the goal of the organization you're working, but also your personal goal. Okay? So as for me, I want to be an instrument in changing the lives of these students. No? That's why I am in the field of education. So same yung personal goal ko, or may sarili akong personal goal na ganun, at yun din yung goal ng organization ko. Alright, moving on. We have here the 4 types of organization. One is mutual benefit. Organizations are designed to help the individuals who belong to the group, such as fraternities, sororities, clubs, and students' organizations in school. So, mutual benefit, no? So, what are the organizations that we have in the school? So, we have the Communication Guild. Okay, that's one. We have Oracle. No? And these are working together para, yun, same, achieve yung isang goal. And you are in that group because you are receiving benefits from that organization na sinalihan. Business concerns. Organizations are primarily concerned with turning a profit for the organization and its stakeholders such as SM, Globe, Pizza Hut, Walter Mart, Magic, ano ba yung mga establishments na meron tayo dito, McDonald's, Jollibee, Chowking, McDo, lahat, Inasal, name it. Those organizations are mainly trying to come up with a profit. Kasi nga, they are businesses. Next is service organization. It is geared towards providing a specific service to people within society. Example are hospitals, legal aid societies, and that includes yung mga LGUs and NGOs din natin, because these are organizations trying to extend their hands and give services and help to the people in the society. Next is Commonwealth organizations. Commonwealth organizations are those that are generally run by the government for the greater good of society, such as military, fire police. Dito pala napapasok yung LGU, no? Sorry. Tapos, yung mga DSWD, yung mga nagbigay ng SAP. So, those are organizations na run by the government, also extending their help to the people in the society. So, that is the goal of that organization. And mainly, those organizations are being run by the government. So, that is it for Module 1. And of course, since it's a 3-hour class, we need to maximize our time. And we will proceed to the second module. Don't worry, we will just be finishing the first chapter, and that is it for the whole session already. So here is, we will be defining communication. There's a lot of definitions, okay? Marami, and there has been debates as to what is the real meaning of communication. Ano nga ba yung meaning of communication? Kasi iba-iba eh. You look at this communication scholar, this is his definition of communication. You read this book, this is the definition of communication. You read another book, then there's again a different definition of communication. So ano nga ba talaga? Well, kasi, kung natatandaan niyo sa communication theory ninyo, kung sino man yung naging teacher ninyo, it is discussed na communication is moving. Communication is a process, thus communication is always in motion. It is always changing. Okay? And it's inevitable na hindi siya gumalaw, hindi siya magbago. It changes over the time. Lagi-lagi. That's one of the reasons as to why ang daming definitions ng communication. Kasi iba-iba siya. And it's very complex. Kaya nga nagkaroon ng separate field of study sa communication. That the study or the field of communication branch lang from the study or field of psychology. And since it's very complex, no, kumbaga nahiwalay na siya as field of study from it. That's why kung mapapansin niyo yung communication theory niyo is parang psychology class siya when you attend and listen to it. Okay? So yun yung dahilan kung bakit iba-iba yung meaning ng communication. So there are 11 definitions of communication here. You are already third years, no? So you pretty much know what communication is. Okay, it's a process. It's always in motion. It is systematic, meaning to say that there are interrelated parts na say yung mga elements are connected to one another, that if something happens to that specific element, then something will happen in the communication system. No, we use symbols to understand one another, and we put a common meaning to that symbol, and that is the reason why we understand one another. And ultimately, the reason why we are communicating is for us to create and share the same meaning. Because if you do not share the same meaning, then that is miscommunication. Okay, that is misinformation, that is misinterpretation. So that is simply communication. And if you will try to read naman all of these definitions, may isa lang naman din talaga silang tinutumbok. It's just that may mga different angles lang that they are more concerned about. That is why that is their definition of communication. Okay, so we have here, it's just a review, no? Ito. Itong part na to. So it says here, human communication, often defined as, consists of sending and receiving of verbal and non-verbal messages. So those are the types of communication, verbal and non-verbal. The definition or meaning of human communication, seemingly simple, put in reality, it is quite complex and a complex process. So kung iisipin natin, we are communicating, we know how to communicate, we've been communicating all our life, we are communicating all the time. Seems like we know what communication really is, but if you try to dig into its complexities, no, it's a very interesting subject matter. Interesting yet very complex. So, hindi naman ibig sabihin na alam natin gawin yung isang bagay is naiintindihan natin yung bagay na yun. Sometimes we just know how to do it, but regardless na alam natin siyang gawin, sometimes we don't understand what really communication is. So we have here the basic model of communication. So process, this is just a review. No? You already know all of these. Sometimes we also refer to it as the elements in communication. So iba-iba din yung terms na ginagamit nila. So process. Communication is a process, which means it is ongoing and always in motion. That's what I told you. So yun, always in motion, lagi siya nagbabago, it evolves, and it never stops. So that is communication. Communication being a process. Now you have here the source. The source is the individual or group of individuals attempts to create and interprets meaning. Okay, source. So this is the person initiating the conversation, the communication, the source of information, the source of the message, know where the message came from. So that is source. There are two major components in defining the role of source: the individual, group, and message. So individual versus group. The source of message could be or could represent a single person's ideas or the entire group's ideas. For example, if you are the leader of a group created in class and you give a feedback on the performance of your members, the message you send may come from you and you alone. So pwede din naman on the other hand, magbibigay, say for example, ng statement yung group mo sa isang bagay. For example, there's an issue. So that is a statement or communication that came not from you but for the whole organization. So whatever it is that you are saying will represent the whole group. So halimbawa na lang yung naging issue sa ABS-CBN. So what the top officials are telling the senators in the hearing is yun yung representation ng statement ng buong company. So that includes yung mga artists nila, that includes their regular employees and contractual employees. So, lahat. And then message. The main goal of the source in a communicative process is to take an idea that is occurring in her or his mind and someone transmit that same idea to other person or persons. The idea someone is trying to send to a receiver is the message. So this is the element that is being transmitted, no? The message. And kung ikaw ang receiver, this is the thing that you are waiting from the source. So, the message. Then channel. Channel, it is the means by which a message is carried from one person to another. It is the medium or the pathway where your message will be sent. Will that be through verbal? Okay, will that be through your phone? Will that be through a letter? So yun yung mga different channels now that we are using so that we can convey or send our message. So, pwedeng non-verbal. No? Non-verbal is, you're using symbols or there's a use of symbols to represent your ideas. And when we say verbal, do not be mistaken. Pag sinabi natin written communication, that's still under verbal kasi you're using letters, you're using words to represent your idea. Or it can also be mga signages, no? Nakita mo dun sa comfort room, nakalagay babae. You did not hear anything verbal, but you do understand that that comfort room is for the girls. Kasi there is a symbol, no? And we have that same meaning dun sa symbol na yun, na yung comfort room na yun is for the girls. And of course, we have non-verbal, everything that is na hindi verbal. So, these are gestures, these are facial expressions, eye contact, proximity. No, makikita mo yung dalawa, lagi sila magkatabi. Proximity, ay siguro magjowa yan. Tapos isang araw nakita mo, hindi sila magkatabi, ay nag-away yan. So through proximity, we can also come up with mga messages or mga interpretation of things. And we have mediated. So when we say mediated, you are using already technology, no, to transmit your message. Say for example, through the use of radio, so that you can send a message to a community. Say isa yung community radio, or there is a public announcement that concerns the whole country, the Philippines. So you will be using television, you'll be using national radio, or probably the internet so that you can inform those people. So, mediated. Meron ng isang bagay na pumapagitna para may i-transmit or may i-send yung message mo. Fourth is receiver. Okay? Of course, when we say receiver, it is the person who will receive the message. And ultimately, the responsibility of the receiver is for him or her to try to comprehend and understand the message that was sent by the sender. So as much as possible, you will try to interpret it, evaluate it close to what the receiver would like his or her message parang to be perceived. And also as a sender, no, syempre you also need to make sure na malinaw yung mga sinasabi mo. So that is receiver. So here is the chapter summary of the things that I have discussed to you for almost an hour straight without any breathing. So nakakapagod mag-online discussion kasi nung una ako lang nagsasalita para akong tanga, pero madali din siya kasi we are saving up time. Now, again, for the chapter summary, you just can go ahead and read them for your information. This will give you a synthesis of what I have discussed in this chapter. So that is the whole chapter 1. Now, if you have concerns, if you have questions, if there are things that I wasn't able to discuss clearly or you need further examples, please feel free to send a message to my secretary, and my secretary will be sending it to me so that next meeting, when we have our live virtual class, I can make clarifications and further discussion regarding those matter. So that is it for the whole chapter 1, for the 2 modules, and hopefully you learn something. That is it. Goodbye.